Hello, BookTube. As I probably don't need to tell anyone who's currently living in the 21st century, sometimes things don't go according to plan. And that is true of this Bag Saga as much as it is true of anything else. Those of you who are landing on this video without watching the, I think, 112 preceding videos will not know what I'm talking about. That's okay. I will explain. I have a shoulder bag. There are many like it, but this one is mine. I found a shoulder bag. This leather shoulder bag. It's heavy, although it was a lot heavier before I tore out its guts and made it into the kind of bag I wanted. And I took you through that process. I needed a new shoulder bag. I went through a whole bunch of candidates, and with this one, I cut out the interior partition. I removed the foam backing from the back and the top of this thing. I did quite a bit to terraform it, to Frankenstein it, into a kind of bag that I would really like to use often. And I have been using it often, and it is wonderful. One of the nicest things about it is that it is practically a TARDIS. It's amazingly infinite how much stuff I can cram inside it. And that's, you might think, well, you don't travel, so why would you need to do that? And the answer is because when I leave the house, when I run errands, even errands that I'm telling myself are not bookish, I end up with 50 or 60 pounds of books. I don't buy one book at a time. I get 50 or 60 pounds of books, and that can take a toll on a bag and requires that you fill a bag to the maximum. So when I started my Bag Saga last year or 2 years ago, a number of you very kindly suggested that you would send me a shoulder bag, or suggested shoulder bags that you'd found online that you really liked. And a lot of those were really good. One of you sent me an incredibly nice leather shoulder bag, a beautiful work of art on its own. But not only was it handcrafted so it could not be Frankenstein, but it was way too small. The problem with all of those bags that you all suggested is that they were way too small. When I use a shoulder bag, I'm going to fill it with books. A dozen, 15, 20 books. That's a lot. So I've been using this thing and liking it, but it's heavy, rather hyper-masculine, overweighted leather, and during Boston's unbelievably long, unbelievably hot, unbelievably humid summers, it felt like a little much, so I thought I might want a summer bag, something that would be a little lighter, but still capacious. And the other day, when David Murphy and I were out at thrift shops, I found a bag, this one, that I thought might fill the bill. It's lighter, it's not leather, it's all plastic, but once I removed the interior partition of this one as well, and the foam backing of this one as well, it was really capacious. It was really, really big. So I thought, okay, I did that. I removed all of that. I'm still at 6s and 7s about these buckle flaps or whatnot, but now the only thing that remains, since I removed the interior partition and I removed the foam padding, the only thing that remains is a field test. Take the bag out, transfer your wallet and your tote bags and your e-reader, take the bag out, and see how it performs on a day of errands. Now, that day is still far in the future because it is unbelievably cold here in Boston. I have no intention of putting myself through that if I don't have to. But the field test is coming. So I thought, well, you've done everything that you can. And then at the last minute, after our last bag video, I thought, well, there is one other thing you could do. I mentioned in that video that two things about the strap. Three things, really. The first is that the strap is sewn to the bag. But the second thing is that I would use these controls to lengthen the strap. I want the strap to be at my waist so that I can rest my arm at a 90-degree angle directly on the top of it. I don't want it riding up under my armpit, and I also don't want it slapping around on my non-existent Irish Catholic ass. I want it to be right in the middle there. So I thought, you have to do that, and also you have to cut this pad off. This sliding pad that is meant to meant to cushion the blow on your shoulder. In my experience, these things are never where you want them, and you're always fiddling with them, and you're always fighting with them, and I don't want to fight with them. So I was thinking, I just need to take scissors and cut this off. Because this strap is sewn to the bag, there's no way to just slide this off. Like, for instance, I did with this strap. The strap on this bag also had one of those pads. It was leather, but it was on here. But because this detaches from the bag, a little demonstration here, this thing detaches from the bag. I was able to slide it off here without cutting it. Not that it matters, so I threw it away anyway. But with this thing, I couldn't. So I figured, why not style this? Why not wear it just once? You're not going to take it out anywhere, and that's going to have to wait for the field test. But you can take it out and find out, is this thing a little sturdier than it looks? Could it possibly stay in place so that maybe you don't have to cut it off or whatnot? So I did that, and it was from that styling session that this particular installment of the Bag Saga reached its melancholy end. And I thought, since I've been giving you updates on all of this, I might as well update you on the end as well. Because I realized right away, no, this thing is just annoying. It's going to have to be cut off. But I realized one other thing, too. Something I was not expecting. This strap, the control for this strap that allows it to see it's all the way to the end, that allows it to be extended or shortened, at its maximum extension, all the way to the bottom of the other side. At its maximum extension, is nowhere near long enough. So maybe this bag was made with a child in mind, or maybe just a normal person. It's been my experience that I am way, way too much in my dimensions for the normal world. Somebody hands me a bag of snacks or brings me a plate, my entree at a restaurant, and says this is normal person size, and it's nowhere near normal person size. I realized that I was raised and socialized by a group of people who do not ever fill with food, but still, clothing, you name it, and the stuff that I usually encounter in the world is so frail, so delicate, so small, and so inadequate that I'm breaking out of it like I was some sort of gray Hulk. And it turns out, whatever the reason, the longest that this strap will go here is way, way, way too small. It's way too short. I extended it to its maximum, and it still came up to just under my armpit. The bag came up to just exactly at the spot at the ribs where you would stick the knife in. No good to me at all. It would be totally uncomfortable to walk around with it. And granted, I don't do much walking around with my bag, but I do some. And these thrift bags are $5 a piece. If I'm going to take a knife and a switchblade to them to carve them up to my liking, I'm also not going to keep one if anything about it bothers me. It's not going to be any drag on the hull. I'm either going to like it or I'm not. If I don't, I'm not going to use it. So my first thought, the very first thought I had was, the one limitation on this that I didn't take into account was that I can't substitute another strap. This one is sewn onto the bag. I originally noticed that it was sewn onto the bag for a completely different reason. I noticed that it was sewn onto the bag because that means that all the weight of what I put in the bag is going to be transmitted directly to these stitches. And if they give out, the bag is useless. I didn't pay sufficient attention to the fact that this also means I can't substitute the shoulder strap. This shoulder strap, was not the original one on this bag. It was one of you get enough thrift bags at thrift stores, you will accumulate a bunch of these latchable shoulder straps. I used this one because it extended a long way, and also because it was really comfortable. And it turns out that was more important than I thought, because that is the limitation of this bag. That means I can't use this thing. So I wanted to take you all through Bag Tuesday Endgame. This is not the end, though. Unlike Endgame in the actual MCU, this is not the end, because I will just keep looking for a lighter plastic fabric, maybe more colorful summer bag. The nice thing is I am not out a bag. This thing is wonderful. Rock solid and infinitely fillable. Nothing's going wrong with it at all. Remember when we did this originally, I worried because the strap here, it's true, it buckles on, but it also latches to the bag, which was the thing that made me originally replace my original bag and start this Bag Saga in the first place. But this is leather, it's sewn on and bolted on. And the sewing isn't just in one line like on this bag. It's double sewn up here behind the bolt. It's double sewn behind there, and it's also sewn around the perimeter. And it's on an extra placket, on an extra strap along the outside of the bag, which means that when this thing has 60 pounds of books in it, the weight is coming straight through the strap to here, but the fact that it's meeting this ring is dissipating a lot of that downward energy. And so is the rest of this, because even the downward energy that hits this part, which is most vulnerable, is being distributed along this strap all the way along the perimeter of the bag. So it's unlikely that will ever give out. Really, it is. It's not the same thing as stitching a patch to a fabric. It's unlikely that will ever give out. So I thought about it, but the strap, the cloth strap will give out long before the bag does, I think. So I'm not missing a bag. I'm not down anything. This was an experiment, and unfortunately, it failed. I wanted to make this video to remind you all that sometimes experiments fail. There you go. That's your Dude Bro lesson for today. But I'll be back. The Bag Saga will continue. I just need to find another candidate. Probably that will be the next time I go into a thrift store, and probably that will be the next time David Murphy is here, since he comes with a car. Anyway, I'll wrap this up for now. I didn't want you all hanging on suspense, wondering how my field test was going. There isn't going to be a field test. I'm not going to bother, because I can't make the bag fit my shoulder, because it's made for little people. But we'll have more happier videos today as well. So I'll see you all in them. Thank you, BookTube.